Okay. All right. So we're good to go. Should I just crack
We
on?
are. We
Yeah.
are.
Okay. Fabulous. A very warm welcome to everybody this morning to this ICG Knowledge Share. It's a busy one, as you can see, very popular. Um, so this morning's Knowledge Share, Beyond Claude, Building Real Research Capacity with Agents, is kindly being run by ICG member Matt Gibbs and also with Kai Davenport, software engineer. And they're kindly going to share their expertise and experience of building agents for market research purposes. Just before we start, and I pass over to Matt and Kai, a very big thank you to the sponsors of this knowledge share, Live Minds. Live Minds is the qualitative research platform that works with independent consultants to help scale up marketing teams, create and launch with confidence, delivering high definition insights in 190 countries. So a lot. So thank you very much to Live Minds. And Matt, Kai, can I pass over to you now?
Sure, yeah. I'll just share my screen. Bear with me one moment. Sharing now. How's that? Can you see that?
Yep.
Excellent.
Oh,
Well, thank you to the Triple L of Lucy, Lynn, and Live Minds. Really appreciate that. But in all seriousness, thanks, ICG, for giving us the opportunity to speak. Incredibly valuable group of people. We've all earned our stripes, haven't we? So really appreciate your time. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat, because this is going to be kind of an informal conversation, sharing knowledge. We've got some PowerPoint slides, yep. We've got a live demo, but if you do have any questions, throw them in the chat. Unfortunately, if you're watching back on Dave on the recording, you won't be able to do that. But please do get involved, because, as we say, we are beyond Claude, building real research capability with agents. And as humans, it would be good if we could get together and have a conversation. So who am I? Well, I'm Matt Gibbs. I founded Bayes Price with Nikki Leffley about 6 years ago, to try and do things in market research as we think they should be. And Kai Davenport is a fantastic software engineer. Hi, Kai.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all.
And we're really lucky to have him on our team and talking today. He's got brilliant knowledge when it comes to AI architecture. Let me just click this button. Here we are. Yeah. So Bayes Price, as I said, established 6 years ago. We began by sort of wrangling large brand equity trackers, lots of data files, bringing them all together, making sense of them, doing automated PowerPoints, automated and interactive Excel. And that's quickly moved on to software development, bespoke software development for clients, particularly in the world of insights and using agents in that role. And the premise of this particular talk is that we're hearing this or things like this quite a lot in the industry, reading it in different places. Can you just paste your paste your data into enter, generic AI bot here? And inspired us to have a think about that and share some knowledge, which is in part what this is all about. So chuck your questions in the chat. If I can't answer them today, we'll try and get back to you. So what if, what if AI hallucinates a number that you include in the report? Is that even possible, Kai? If I use a large language model, why would it hallucinate a numerical figure?
Oh, good question. And so I think the where to start is the first thing to say is AI models are incredibly capable at attempting to give you an answer as long as it's any answer. So by design, they're striving very hard to give you some response that would be a convincing response. And so, like, rather than go, I don't know, they're getting much better at saying I don't know, but ultimately they're going to attempt to fill in the gap where a number should be. The main answer to your question is they are not mathematical machines. They are token prediction machines. And what's a token? It's a numerical representation of meaning in a high vector space, right? Which is a technical way of just going, they're word machines. They're kind of in the STEM versus humanities division.
Yeah.
They're definitely on the humanities side. It's just that they've come up with a really good numerical way to predict the next word, right? So they can be incredibly convincing that they have a fully functional Turing complete computer inside them because they're really good at predicting what the next word would be. So if you said, hey, what's 2 plus 2? It's really good at predicting that that would be 4. But it's really important to say that that's a prediction rather than an actual calculation that's done under a fully computationally sound machine, right? So the metaphor would be don't don't pretend that the AI is a calculator. Just get it to use a calculator. It's really good at using tools, but it's not
Yeah.
very good at being a mathematically sound machine, would be the short way to say it.
Really appreciate that. And getting the agent to use tools is going to be a recurring theme through this talk, and we're going to show you how we've done that, share some knowledge on that, and indeed what you should be asking your vendors for. So I'm only going to make a second point here of what if client data is passed to train a model across regions. Look,
Esther's on the call. Oh, sorry.
hello. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome. So yeah, if we've got a if we pass our data into a model that we don't completely own and we don't know exactly where that data is going and we can't access that and delete it and do all the wonderful things that are the credibility of our sector has been built upon, what could be the implications of that? Like Kai, could it be used to train a model, and indeed, what might the consequence of that be?
Well, it could indeed, and now there's a few things to mention quickly in this answer. The first would be the word trust, because the moment you use an external AI provider, so let's just say I'm just going to connect to ChatGPT and get it to use the calculator because I paid attention to the first slide, right? But I'm not going to worry too much about where the ChatGPT is running or the Claude is running. So that AI model is running on somebody else's infrastructure in their data center behind an API boundary that they control. So now you have to trust they're not going to grab your data on the way through, copy it, and maybe use it to train another model. And back to like models are really good at predicting text. If your actual sensitive data or numerical data or any of your data is used to train the next generation of models, you might discover that the next generation of models is predicting exactly what you said in your data because it was used in the training set. And so that would be regarded as an unfavorable data leak at the bare minimum, right? And so how do you do that? You need to control the infrastructure your AI model is running on. And so it's not a case of like, hopefully they're going to keep to their terms and conditions. It's instead, I'm going to run this model on Azure Foundry or all of all three big cloud providers, Azure, Google, AWS, will give you a way to run the model on infrastructure that is within the API boundary of your organization, that then comes with all the terms and conditions and the SOC 2 compliance that is inherited by that cloud provider. So a bare minimum, have control over where your model is running. Don't just send your data across an API boundary to someone else and hope for the best.
God, no, wouldn't it be terrifying to type in ChatGPT and get your own report back? I'd be a bit imagine that.
Yeah. That's not hallucinating. That's actually faithfully reproducing the training data at that point.
Yes,
right?
quite right. And there's no way back from that. Yes, please do take care out there. We've written an article about this for the ICG. You can dig a little deeper or ask questions, etc., and we'll try and get back to you. And we get it right. Throughout my entire career, and I speak to peers, we feel the same. There's always been a bit of a frustration of we've got so many great methodologies, we've got so many great minds, but rarely do we have the time and the money in the project to deploy those. So any kind of method that enables us to give clients better value from our perspective, we try and do that. But we should do that in a safe way and in a way that is designed to suit our profession and honor our profession, which is why we moved to develop Platinum, which is our wonderful insight software. So let's just show you how we've actually built something. So Platinum was, at its core, it came from a cross-tabulation engine that we've been using for many years, and we acquired from one of our suppliers. It's been tested in market research for 20 years. So when you ask it to do a cross-tab, it can do anything. For example, here's our public jobs. This is the General Social Survey of the USA. It's been running since 1972. As you can see here, every year or a couple of years from 1972, the American public get asked a whole host of questions. There's some quite interesting ones in here, actually. There's one on, it was dropped in 2006 and dropped out in 2018 on, does the Earth go around the sun or does the sun go around the Earth? And 22% of Americans, indeed, if we look at this as a bit of a chart here, perhaps we'll do a bar, we'll select column percents and go to 2018, when you see that nearly a fifth, should we control for don't knows, of Americans thought the sun went round the earth. So perhaps it was dropped out of the survey due to some kind of national embarrassment. But back to the point in hand, which is here we can edit the spec, we can add anything in the side and the top, we can add side filtering, which is very unusual particularly for something in a browser, any weights, any table filters, case filters, run by syntax, you can add significance testing, etc., etc. But more to the point, when it comes to agents, we've added in what we class as our cascading context engine. So with this, within your customer, you can add who you are, you can tell the system what your projects are all about, each individual one, you can tell it particular information about the methodology used, what types of methods you would like to be used, the stakeholders that are involved, perhaps particular personas of users, and it even understands about the metadata of a particular question, and it can read the percentages. So when we click insights, the speed to insight, even somebody who's not into data tables, because they are fairly impenetrable if you don't really use them every day, that person can quickly get an understanding of the key insights of that data table. And then one of the first things we did was say, okay, let's have a little chat about this data. So I don't know, is there a question of how can we improve understanding of Earth round sun? That's a silly question to ask. It came straight off the top of my head. It doesn't have anything to do with this data, but it's just to prove the point that you will get some feedback immediately. So at that point, we've got quality data in, really important. We've got quality metadata defined by the organization and the stakeholders, which means that we can aggregate up this understanding of tables to executive reports. An example being, one of our clients was spending a week every month on a really large brand tracker across 9 different products, creating executive summaries from the automated PowerPoints and tables, etc. We worked with them to make sure that the table level analysis was correct, and then we could aggregate that up to generate the executive reports for them in minutes. And most importantly, here's a top tip: every user can then go into those reports and edit the text, and every single statistical reference you can click through and see the underlying data table. So it's completely transparent. That's one of the top tips, and this is very much a theme that we're seeing throughout the sector. If I go back to PowerPoint now seamlessly, for example, I was presenting last month in Quirks London with JW from Sky on moving the ownership from the data point to the point of view. And what do we mean by that? It's a theme in the industry of agencies used to be able to control all the data and feed like a data table or a PowerPoint report or a document to clients. But the problem with that is that data has a sell-by date. It does go out of date, especially when we're competing with instant social data, instant synthetic data. The jury's out, in my opinion, on synthetic data, but that's another talk. So the theme is that insights professionals, client side, they want access to the information that they have paid for, right? And they want it immediately, and they want it in a way that doesn't mean they've got to learn some kind of scripting language. They just want to talk to a system that can cover multiple projects and analyze it for them and bring them some valuable insights immediately, so their creative thought process can flow in the moment. And yeah, we're going to show you how you or certainly we have done that. So there's lots of different functions in this system, but a key thing to consider here is that we think software is moving away from the build it and they will come era. We've built something, you must buy this and adapt your processes. Rather, it should be, in agentic software development, tell us what you need and you can have it, right? Also, it's moved away from, oh, you want a function, we'll create a button for that. You push button, it does thing. More to speak English and the system will develop whatever thing that you need. Okay, so here's an example, right? I'm going to click this button. This is our agentic area, and the mic's going to go on, and I'm just going to talk to the system, and we're going to do a really live demo, and it's probably all going to go wrong, but we'll give it a go anyway. So hi there, I'm in the ICG demo call. Don't worry about who the ICG are. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And I just want to show what the agentic area in Platinum can do. So can you just tell me what this study is about, what the customer is about, and put a bit of a summary in the chat, please? So I was, in all seriousness, what we're doing here is giving somebody who may be entering a project for the first time access to top level information about what this project's all about. Because one of the big time drains in an organization is sharing information across colleagues, right? Kai, I don't know if you can talk technically about what just happened. Like I said, started an agent session. What have we done
Yeah.
technically?
Well, this is a good example of building on the calculator analogy, I think, which is we've told the underlying language model, you have access to this thing called Carbon, which is a super sexy large cross-tabulation engine, otherwise known as a calculator in our metaphor. But it can do a lot more than just add two numbers up, right? It can say, load me these variables, cross-tabulate with those variables, give me an entire table over time, and do everything that you'd be expecting a market research cross-tabulation system to do. It knows how to use that calculator effectively. And so what the language model is brilliant at is understanding your nuance, right? So I want to have some kind of insight into this topic. Please, can you search the variables that we have that relate to that topic? Please,
Let's do that now.
Yeah,
let's do that now. Okay. So can you go and find me a table in the chat about, I don't know, science and astrology, and just render it in this chat, please? I'm kind of interested in it.
So it's kind of like, it's acting a few roles here. It's like curating all of the variables you have, curating all the tables you have. And then more importantly, it's able to understand your intent behind the question, analyze the data, but by using the calculator. So it's not like I'm going to try to look at these numbers. It's going to just calculate the numbers and present to you as much sort of on-track summary of what you've asked for. And so in this case, Matt's just said, can you find me a table that's anything to do with X? And it's gone, I've searched my inventory. Yes, here's the table. But more importantly, I'm just going to render you the numerical table rather than try to hallucinate the numbers. And I think that's actually a really good example of get it to just show the numbers rather than pretend to know the numbers might be a good, a good saying.
And from a technical perspective, when we say start an agent chat, it's actually started up its own computer online, right?
Well, yes. So this is exactly, and this is a really important thread, because what you were talking about is bringing the insights away from the, say that a bit again. I still can't remember that. The way you've said it is really good. Say that a bit again.
It started its own computer, if you will.
No, but what I mean is the thing you did with JW about bringing insights from the data point to the human, right?
That's it. So this is from the data point to the point of view, changing the point of ownership.
That's right.
Yeah.
So to do that, why our data? Why was it the why was all of the power where the data point was originally? To get any insight on those data points, you need to write some code in order to cross-tabulate those numbers using the specific filter and view that you want to look at in that moment, right? And in the old world, that would be ring up your software developer, people like me. You go, could I please have a new function behind a button that does X and Y? And us lot, i.e. software engineers, would make your life really hard and charge you loads of money, and it would be really slow. And that's the world before, right? The crucial thing is agents are also, as well as very good at using your cross-tabulation calculator, they're also really good at writing code. And so what if we combine these two worlds, right? And we said, hey, here are the numbers, but the numbers are in the raw form that they exist. What I want you to do is write me a script that goes over the numbers and maps them in the following way using these very standard traditional market research methodologies. And because it's a polyglot, it's got a relatively smart IQ across all subjects. It knows how to do software engineering. It knows how to do market research and statistical analysis. It knows how to use your cross-tabulation calculator. Bring all that together, and you have the potential for some really useful scripts that do exactly what you want in that moment.
Let's do that now.
Well, let me finish one quick thing, because this brings it to your actual question. What actually happened underneath the hood? And the thing to be aware of is everything I just said is the upside, right? It's like, hey, get the agent to just write code and you can have what you want. There's a lot of security holes and a lot of operational concerns around doing that. And so what we just saw when we started this agent session is under the hood, it basically spun up a completely new computer just for this chat, right? And why is that important? Because now this chat can write any code it wants without worrying about about accessing all of the rest of the system without worrying about overwriting any other code that another session did. And most important, not worrying about security exploits in case the agent gets a bit too enthusiastic and writes code that breaks. It's okay because we've isolated this whole chat within a very secure environment. And so it's very important I wedge that last bit in, because otherwise it's just like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Done.
No, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about imagination and the power of the individual, right? Because we're not just limited now to tools. Yeah, it can use cross-tabulation engines because that's where we've come from, but it can do loads of other stuff as well. Check this out, right? Hey, I'm actually in the ICG demo now, so if you could be super quick, I'd really appreciate that. I'm going to give you a link for the ICG. They're a fantastic group of expert independent consultants. Please go there and understand about the ICG. Go to their website. I'll give you their web link. But also listen to their tone of voice, understand how they write stuff, understand the fonts on the website, have a look at the colors, etc., and get an understanding of how they do things, because in a minute, I'm going to ask you to develop what we class as a web app. But first of all, go to the website and have a good look around. Okay. And here is the URL, and off it goes. So this is completely unrelated to our particular area, but every individual can now be a powerful team. So yeah, it's and I love watching the reasoning. Actually, it can be quite comical. It can make jokes about the stuff that you've just asked, but it doesn't know that we can read how it's thinking as well. It's quite funny at times. Anyway, so now it's going off to the ICG website and it's exploring that website. It can do any website and it can bring back all of the branding. Can you imagine how much it costs sorry, it's doing the astrology table. So ICG brand summary. So we've got primary blue, we've got a dark neutral, we use open sans font, the design style is this, we're professional yet approachable, community focused, connection, inspiration and support, and we target expert independent researchers and consultancies. So now imagine that it's your client. You've gone to the client website, you've immediately understood all about them. Okay, so what we can do now is, we can develop PDFs and Word documents and PowerPoints. And a point about context and customization, if you have a particular way of generating a PowerPoint report or a particular way of running a segmentation analysis, you can develop skills that you reuse. So it's not just like, hey, AI, make up a segmentation approach today, please, that's inconsistent to the last one that I did. It's no, let's work together. Let's make sure you're doing stuff in the way that I want it to be done, and then deploy. So this is just another approach. So okay, let me just attach a file here. This is the ICG logo I'm attaching. Okay, that's great. I want you to develop me a web app that shows the ICG as the leading organization for independent consultants. I mean, we've earned our stripes over the years and there are hundreds of us. So if anybody wants some fantastic people to work on their projects, they should come to the ICG as their first port of call. Use this study. So at the top, say ICG is brilliant, well, not literally, but use what you get from their website, and then bring in the general social survey as an example of how ICG consultants can bring data to life. Do like 3 or 4 charts that are kind of interesting. Maybe you find the charts, and then at the end do a call to action. So if you want more data, if you want more stuff like this, contact the ICG membership, because they are without doubt the experts in your sector. All right. So
I love the emotion that Matt puts into the voice prompts for the models. It's really
I've just had a coffee. Anyway, so what are we doing here? We're creating this whole new mode of output that our clients really, really like, and you can do it really, really quick. So it's a web app. It will give you a URL link. Here's one that I prepared earlier. I actually ran this morning a segmentation, creating 5 distinct groups that shape American institutional trust using that same GSS social survey of 40,000 Americans. It came up with media moderates, science believers, institutional optimists, institutional skeptics, and traditional patriots. I wonder if traditional patriots have a correlation between sun and earth rotation. Not sure. It's got some nice charts. I haven't edited this, but it's got to contact the ICG at the bottom. Now, why is this awesome? It's because, let me give you an example. I spent about 3 months working with a large media client. terrestrial TV client on a massive study all around the UK about opinions of how you develop different shows, etc. And we did some brilliant reports, all PowerPoint and interactive dashboards, etc. But on the train from Bristol, where I'm based, to London, just had this idea of, hey, what if we could use turf analysis on the battery of questions about what makes a good show, and see if we can pick the top 5 to give us the biggest reach, and then split that by all the different segments and regions across the UK. And not only that, once we've done that turf analysis, let's bring it to life with an interactive turf web app, so people can select a region and see what jumps out at them, but also go in with an idea and select 5 options and see their kind of reach. And it was actually that inspiration on that train and the ability to generate that really, really quick, which went down the best in the meeting. It was completely unforeseen, but otherwise it would just been an idea that evaporated. It was a nice to have, because it would take months and thousands of pounds, and you wouldn't have been able to do it. So independent consultants like us, we can now do 10 things, 20 things, and then see what sticks, and then follow that thread. It could be quite lightweight on the budget as well. So as you can see here, we have written JavaScript, we've written HTML, we've explored different different designs, and now within 5 minutes it's going to look fairly shabby, because I'm literally doing it right now, but we can then click into it and refine it with a WYSIWYG and I'll come back to this because we are running out of minutes, because I've got some other slides to go through. Point being, it can basically do anything that you need it to do, because we are giving the agents tools that are sector specific. And I think that's another theme that is running through our sector right now, and that is to stand up for ourselves, right? It can be quite overpowering with all the marketing budget that these massive, great big agentic people have that throw everything away and do it our way, you know? And actually, I think that would be a huge mistake, because we have, for the past 80 years, built up some phenomenal skill sets and professional capabilities and peer groups that, if we position ourselves right, could thrive in an agentic future. This is what we were presenting on in IAX Washington DC in May. But there are some questions that you might want to ask yourself. For example, to just say, you know, where does my data go and who controls it? How are the numbers computed, and can I trace them to source? Does it understand my approach to analysis? Does it understand my stakeholders? Does it understand the system? And can I replicate that instantly across other people who log in? And what safeguards are available to prevent fabricated insights reaching stakeholders? And there is insight software that will help you. There's loads of insight software built by insights professionals, and I think it's better when it's built by insights professionals. For example, this is the way that we've built our first draft at coding free text analysis. Now, this text can come from a quantitative survey, as you can see here. It's about women's football in the UK. People just given their opinions in free text, but it can be anything. It can be social media, it can be qualitative transcripts, anything at all. Now, myself and Nikki, we remember paper questionnaires coming in regularly, big piles of them, and getting felt tip pens and putting the codes on the paper. So the methodology, that gold standard that we used to do manually, tragically, I feel has been lost, because we don't really have the time to do the gold standard manual coding anymore. And all of the previous, oh, there goes the coffee, sorry. And all of the previous attempts at automating that process, I think, have been lacking, like text recognition. But this time, I think we've really struck gold, that we can scale up the gold standard of coding. So, for example, here we can work with a language model to extract 10 themes from the data automatically. So it can build up a code frame for us, and then you can iterate on that to develop the code frame and expand it. And we also give explanations of when to assign this code. Can you imagine doing that in a code frame to a coder? And then when you assign the code, it assigns it to a particular snippet, and it isolates that snippet of text. So if we're assigning a theme of quality and improvement or growing popularity, it's not assigned to the overall comment, which is important. Clearly, when we're doing percentage tables and we want to compare percentages of this theme versus this theme, we need to know that those have been isolated. It's not some generic other segment that is having an influence there. And when it comes to data quality, our system shows you both the text snippet that's been assigned the theme and why it was assigned that theme. It gives it an explanation. We also assign sentiment, but also explain why we assign that sentiment, and we assign one of the 8 core emotions and explain why we did that. Now, if I coded the same data set twice, I think this system would be more consistent than me. Certainly if 2 people are coding the same data set, and importantly, if we want to iterate again, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands can be coded, and we can be coding free text from anywhere. So it's a great example of how Insights software built by Insights professionals is a lot of the time better than generic off-the-shelf stuff. And it's moving fast, right? Here's a quick look at the future, right? There is a little chatbot we've got. He speaks like a bot because he is a bot. Some of those animated mannequins give me the creeps. But I've called mine Douglas. And you just talk to Douglas, and it's an agent that can get other agents to do stuff for you. So when I talk to Douglas, he can understand what I've been talking about. He can activate an agent. He can go and explore a project or a group of projects, and you can ask it a research question. It can come back with the answer. It can do follow-up tasks and do anything really. So what does this mean for a larger organization? Well, what we're finding is this is actually one of the most valuable parts of the system at growing in interest. Why? Because of knowledge management. Douglas and the system understands who you are and the questions you've been asking. And so it builds up a bank of memories across the organization as well. So if you ask a question, it can say, hey, your colleague asked a similar question 6 months ago. Do you want to pick up on that thread? Or if you ask where a PowerPoint document is, it can just find it for you. And so all this means that we're getting organizational sense. It means that large organizations can operate as fast and as agile as small ones, but also teams change, right? People go from team to team or indeed move on with their career. And a lot of the value they've contributed into that organization gets lost. Whereas now we're building up a certain amount of knowledge over the organization so that it doesn't get lost in the future. Just a final, if I may, we're going to be at IIEX Europe this year. So if any ICGers, I know a few are going along to that, we've made it to the innovation competition final. Please give us a vote. Really appreciate it if you did, because it's that would be great. There we are. That's generally what we had prepared. I hope it was of some use. If there are any questions, very happy to take those.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Guy.
I think there were a few questions in the chat which Kai has kindly answered.
Cool.
But yes, if there are any further questions, happy to take those on.
Happy to take them from the the ICG committee as well. In the meantime, for thinking.
So we've got a question from Mike. Mike, did you want to unmute yourself and ask that?
Yes, I did want to unmute myself, but I couldn't find where the unmute was. Hello. Yeah, not that we ever make mistakes, but in the very unlikely case that we've just issued a load of stuff and we found that our essentially core data set is wrong, can you essentially ask the system to forget that, or do we essentially start again and use a different chat, or how does it work?
You can be very specific to the agent as to which data sets you want it to target. So I think what would be an anti-pattern to try and solve that would be to try and add to the agent some kind of feature that tries to say add forgettable data set, something, because ultimately who knows how that happened. The sourcing of the upstream data in terms of I have just imported a .sav file into the system. All of a sudden, oh, the agency's reported a bug with that. Like that could happen in a million different ways that we shouldn't try to predict. So I think instead what we've focused on is being very explicit with the agent as to which data sets it should target when doing any analysis. And so to answer your question, it could either be in the same chat. You could say, oops, we just noticed something messed up. Please don't reference that data set for a minute, but work around it. Or let's just start a completely new chat where we do the same thing. And so I think what I'm trying to stress there is to not, let's not try to squeeze 1,000 features into the agent. Instead, it's pretty smart. So you just tell it what happened and it will then not target that specific data set. Does that make sense and answer your question?
Yes, it does. That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the question, Mike. There's another one from Karen on what's your pricing model? That is
I'm going to let Matt answer this because I have
$1
no idea personally.
million. No, it's
Uh,
no, it's an interesting question. We started this thinking, well, we'll do that. We'll just do the standard per user model and then add a margin on tokens that's completely transparent. But what we're finding is people, particularly large corporate enterprises, are very interested in bespoke software that is tailored to their particular needs, and that is our primary objective, is to try and help large corporate enterprises bring together lots of different data sources, whether they are market research, traditional data science sources, qualitative or quantitative, whether they are social media flows, campaign expenditure, passive data coming off of devices, all into the same system. Because in our experience, wonderful software engineers on the data side can build an awful lot of things. But speaking to humans is surprisingly complex, and quantifying speaking to humans is surprisingly complex, as is drawing reliable and balanced insight from speaking to humans. It's incredibly complex, right? So again, we've been doing this for 80 years as a profession. So we're able to go in and really help those insights professionals build a system that can draw information all over. So to your point on that, it's sort of bespoke and complex quotes. That's over a long period of time. So if anybody knew any of those large corporates and wanted to help us,
I think it's worth saying as well, though, just in complete transparency time, we are very, very happy to speak to people for no charge for an hour, just to give them our advice and see where things are at as well. So there's two ends of it, right? There's large corporate bespoke contracts, which can be large and long, but at the same time, like it's very, very early in this space, and so like we're very happy to exchange some of our consultancy time in response for understanding where people are at and for that not to feel scary, big and slow. And I think in the middle, there's going to be various other pricing schemes that we can make up as a bespoke as we go along. So, and Matt, one thing, when you say we've been doing this for 80 years, can you clarify what you mean? Because in my head, okay, good. You don't mean you are
the reason I'm
somehow.
saying that is because
I
the Market
understand.
Research Society in the UK,
Okay.
still the world's largest and most well-established society,
Okay.
is 80 years old today.
I might have forgotten that you're amongst market research professionals, and I'm the
Yeah,
person
man,
that
and I
doesn't
think
know
it's
this.
fine.
Right?
But you're right,
Sorry,
Kai,
carry
right?
on.
We contribute, you know, I've always thought if our sector grows, then the slice that we have of it grows as well, right? So the more we can do together, the better, because we're now ever more than before at a sector versus sector competition, which is why we support things like the Association for Survey Computing Conferences, 2 every year. Nikki's on the committee for that. I'm the chair for the TS API initiative. Thankfully, the ICG helped us a few years ago get this off the ground with it's basically the idea of every platform throughout the sector should honor their API definition, but also TS API, which is a sector standard, because then data would just flow through any data collection, any data analysis, any data visualization system. And it can be done now, right? Because we have agents that can build software and API connections like that. So, and it's also very important for the Global Data Quality Pledge that everybody's involved in. Sorry, I'm banging on about it, but I want to give the Global Data Quality Pledge a real push because it's such a fantastic resource, and they check the standards of data coming in, and they're really trying to create automated flows for data quality check-in, and TS API is a big part of that, and it's what stands us out against the AI slop, if you will, from other data sources that are coming in, because we are the gold standard when it comes to interpreting human insight. Any other questions?
Matt, coming back to the case that you presented, how long did that take you to build?
Yes, well, the core cross-tabulation engine has been one of our suppliers. They're wonderful mathematicians based in Australia, and they've been doing it for about 20 years. They've done stuff in market research that probably will never get commissioned again. It's so quirky and it's so robust. So from that perspective, quite long. But the way that we've built it into our system, we've been doing that for what's about 2 years, 3 years now, Kai, is it?
Yeah.
But the way in which agentic software development has moved on, it means that we can build a lot more, a lot quicker now.
Yeah.
Shall I just pass that over to you, Kai?
Sure. I think, yeah, I'd say 18 months earnestly on the thing you've just seen and a couple of years around the tabulation engine. So the the first step was to bring Carbon, which is the cross-tabulation engine Matt mentioned that our Australian suppliers had worked on. And the bonus there, this is part of why when me and Matt first met and he explained, look, I've got all of the edge cases accumulated over decades in a cross-tabulation engine in this code base right here. And I could immediately see the value because the team in Australia had worked with huge clients for many, many years, understanding how to cross-tabulate across a huge number of different use cases. So the goal then was to how can we bring that into a set of web native software? And so I'd say the first half of our development time was spent in really shoring up the cross-tabulation engine, surfacing the UI into a web app that made that work. And then the second half, the last 18 months, has been very much getting this agentic framework to sit on top of that. And a lot of the work, last thing I'll say, a lot of the work in the agentic stuff is not what you saw in the demo. It's all of the infrastructure underneath that makes sure that that actually runs reliably and securely and quickly. And so stuff like Docker isolation and networking and image registries and such things, which, you know, inherently are more computer operational tasks than AI tasks. But it turns out if you need the AI to have its own computer so it can run whatever code it wants to write for you, then that's actually becomes a computer operational challenge rather than an AI one. And I'd say the bulk of the time has been spent on that ops side of stuff. And then the AI itself is clearly something that companies like Anthropic and OpenAI are spending their time making the model smart. Full disclosure, we're not making the models smart. We are leveraging the models in a very specific, focused way, specifically for market research. And back to the calculator example, that's how you should do things, right? So yeah, but to answer your question, 3 years, half of which was cross-tabulation, the other half was AI.
Thank you.
There's a question I've noticed, which is about legal IT, AI governance, and sharing proprietary data. Tom, let's have a chat about that offline. I think that's probably one of the things we have to do, but for legal and confidential, etc. Who do you see as your core competitors? It's a lovely question because it's changed over time. When we started, we thought, right, the classic data visualization, market research type people, but increasingly in the activity that we're doing, we're coming up against tech providers from outside the market research sector. And that's okay. Basically, our competitor set is defined by our clients. They choose who they might, the range of people that they want to buy from. And in every conference I go to, that range is expanding. And I think that's okay because we're not stuck within our market research bubble anymore. We can burst out of it and go and eat their lunch. Everybody feels so scared about, oh, the tech providers are coming, they're going to gobble us up. No, actually, well, there's a large plate of food over there and we're going to go and get a slice. So that's generally who I see as our competitive set, not just within market research, but growing the market research sector.
Great. Any final questions from anyone before we close off? Thank you so much, Matt and Kai. This was really insightful whistle-stop tour on this tool. It's taken you over 3 years to build, which is fabulous. But yeah, it's great to see its usability.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, just one last plug. Like, we're very happy to share this knowledge if you just reach out. That's what I'd say. Like, that's free. That won't cost you any money. Just let us know and we can have a chat.
There are 243 active ICG members, I think.
There you go.
Could be quite a conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.